and specialized units. We have competitive salaries and benefits, and right now, for a limited time only, I feel like I'm doing a sales pitch here, you can get $7,500 sign-on bonus for new and lateral recruits. And you can apply at cmpd.org. We are also part of the 30 by 30 initiative to hire 30% of our recruits to be females by the year 2030. Now, while we are not at that point yet, we are certainly striving to achieve that goal. And we're hoping that this $7,500 sign-on bonus will assist in attracting that talent. While recruiting has been a big push for the chief, his #1 priority continues to be crime management, specifically violent crime management. Now, for more on our numbers of our first quarter of 2022, I'd like to introduce Major Brian Foley, who is over our North Patrol Division. Major Foley.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Major Brian Foley. I am over the North Patrol Bureau, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. That's 5 divisions that are comprised of the northern part of Mecklenburg County, some of the busiest in the city. And I'll be discussing with you this morning our first quarter crime numbers. I want to remind you, when we talk about these numbers, we're talking about victims. We're talking about people who have been victimized by bad guys. This is important to remember. When we talk about crime, there's always somebody that has to basically bear the brunt of that. And our goal is to reduce that and make sure that we have as few victims as possible in the work that we do every day. I would like to start with overall crime. So overall crime for CMPD for the first quarter is relatively flat, and that's a good thing. Despite businesses opening up, people being out, pandemic obviously has had a lot of effects on our crime rate. During the time the pandemic was in full swing, our property crime rates plummeted. That was mainly due to the fact that a lot of people were at home. But now that we see people returning back to work, and those folks are no longer staying at home during the day, we've seen some of our property crimes start to creep back up again. So I want to talk to anyone who's watching this broadcast, especially if you are at home. We always recommend that you watch out for your neighbors. If you know that your folks aren't, your neighbors next door are working, make sure that you're watching out for their houses. Home alarms are always a positive thing, but making contact with us, letting us know when you see suspicious activity, always a critical component of our success in reducing crime. Violent crime is up 2% last year. While violent crime has gone up slightly, the number of homicides, however, is down. We're at 18 versus 19 at this same point last year. This is due in large measure to the really successful work of our outstanding homicide detective teams, our violent crime apprehension teams, working in concert. I can honestly tell you from my personal observation, I don't think anybody does it better than what we do. And when we have a homicide, our teams are on the ground running, and we're pretty successful generally about getting a suspect identified in under 48 hours and getting people in custody very, very quickly. And that's from both within our own jurisdiction and then working outside Charlotte, our neighboring counties, neighboring states, and occasionally nationwide to bring people to justice. So I would like to recognize the work, significant work that's done by those teams. In addition to that, the homicide arrests themselves are up 22%. So again, talking about that great work that's being done, it takes a lot of work, and it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't stop just because it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We posted a clearance rate last year of 73%. That's well above the national average for homicides. So again, that speaks to the folks that are doing this work for you and for the resolution it brings to families of victims. We want to make sure that we're doing all of the things that we need to do to help those families. And CMPD is very successful with our crisis resolution teams, our folks that come in and help and assist not only with new cases but with cold cases. Our cold case squad continues to work older crimes, and we've had some success this quarter bringing some of those closures and resolutions. CMPD has dropped significantly in other key categories. Rapes and sexual assaults are down 23% in 2022. Our special victims division works tirelessly to investigate and prosecute those very delicate cases. We're very glad and we are hopeful that we continue to see those drop. However, we talk about victimization. What I mean by victimization is that people need to be aware of their surroundings. Charlotte is a growing city. There are a lot of people here. You need to be aware of time and place. Taking steps, personal steps to keep yourself safe, walking from your workplace to your car with somebody. Those are just very simple things that you can do to to protect yourself, to make sure that you're aware. We say situational awareness in our line of work, about paying attention to what's going on around you. So, if you drive into your neighborhood and you see somebody parked in front of a house and they're sitting in a car there and you've never seen that car before you pull into your driveway, you might want to drive past and take a look at that car pretty hard and then come back, see what those people are doing. Anytime you have something like that occurring and you feel that there's something suspicious going on, we always encourage you to call 911 and let us know, and officers will respond to help you. Robberies are down 5%. Our overall larceny cases are down 1%, but I do want to talk about gun crime. So, folks, you see it nationally. Continues to be a problem for us. We struggle with that here in Charlotte about gun crimes. This is about conflict resolution. It's about people's ability to resolve conflict without resorting to deadly force. It happens more and more and more frequently. People get involved in an argument, people get disrespected, and they feel that the first thing they need to do is go to a firearm. And the question to ask is, where do the guns come from? And the unfortunate fact is the majority of those guns come from legal owners. They're stolen in cars, they're stolen in residential burglaries, but the car break-ins are by far the most frequent way we see firearms out into the criminal element and distributed out on the street. That's very frustrating. It's very simple. I read the reports. More than half of the larceny from auto that I see where guns are stolen, the cars are unlocked. Why would someone leave a firearm in an unlocked car is beyond me. But the owner of that gun, if you have any heart in you whatsoever, and you care about people, you got to understand that if you don't take care of that firearm, it can kill somebody else. It can kill a child, and we've seen that multiple times this year. Kids under the age of 15, shot, killed, families in crisis and heartbreak. For what reason? So, take care of your firearms. Lock them up. If you need gun locks, reach out to CMPD. We can help provide those to you. We'll help even guide you through how to install them on a firearm. But that is the number one thing that you as the public can do right now to help us reduce these incidents of gun violence. The next part of it is, don't be out after midnight. We know that nothing good happens after midnight. That's what my dad used to tell me, right? A lot of these gun crimes, a lot of these shootings are occurring after midnight. People, if you want to go out, you want to have fun, you want to go to the club, that's great. Don't be the last one leaving the club at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you can see that nationally. We just had a big shooting out in California, the result of a conflict that occurred inside a club, and as people left, talking about that conflict resolution again, right? What happened? People went to guns. So just be smart, be wise. To my club owners, to the people that are out there running these facilities, security is critical. Make sure you hire good people. Make sure you screen for firearms before people come into your club. Make sure you got good security measures out in your parking lots. Good lighting, good security, marked, uniformed, whatever you want to call it. That's always important. We want to reduce that, but it's got to be a joint effort between us and you. Aggravated assaults, talk about that conflict resolution. With the shootings on the rise, and we talk about the work that's done by our detectives, when we identify suspects, the next step is to bring those people in. So we have two groups that do that internally at CMPD. One is the Violent Crime Apprehension Team, or VCAT. The other is the Crime Gun Suppression Team. Both of those groups of detectives work across the city. They utilize all kinds of information that we get from people through Crime Stoppers, tips, all the other sources that we can think of, to be able to bring people in and get them here at headquarters and interview them, talk to them, and hopefully get them charged. We have a very good working relationship with the District Attorney's Office here in Mecklenburg County, and it's very important to remember that it's a multi-step process. So a lot of people expect and believe that when we make an arrest, that closes the case and everything is done, and that's not the case at all. It takes a lot of legwork and a lot of time to bring these cases through the court system, to bring people to justice, to hold them accountable. And when you look at the number of repeat offenders that we see, especially with gun crimes, that's concerning to us. Again, the relationship that we have with our District Attorney's Office is very important. Our Magistrate's Office, also critically important. CMPD works very hard to make sure that we have good working relationships with those organizations, because that's the successful equation it takes to bring people and hold them accountable for the crimes that they commit. Joining me now to talk more about the hard work of the Crime Gun Suppression Team is Sergeant Dan Bignell, and I'm going to let him tell you about some successful cases that they've had. So Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Major. The Crime Gun Suppression Team was formed last year. We combined the CMPD gang unit the shooting into the occupied dwelling task force, and our TRAP unit, which is the Targeted Response and Apprehension Group. So far in 2022, the team has made 58 arrests. We've seized 52 firearms, illegal firearms, and executed 7 search warrants. I'm going to talk about 2 cases, just examples of what they do every day. The first case was on March the 1st, so just recently. The detectives observed a vehicle that was used in a shooting in the Metro Division. We got our resources set up, 455, K9, and we attempted to stop that vehicle. The vehicle didn't stop. We had the suspects then jumped and ran off of Toddville Road. One suspect ran behind a house and put an AR rifle pistol in a trash can. The other one went into the house. We worked with the parents and the homeowners to get in, to go inside the house, and recovered a firearm inside the attic of that house. Another example is out of the Independence Division. Our group, the Crime Gun Suppression Team, worked with the Independence Crime Reduction Unit and Independence Detectives as a group effort. We were having a shooting series in the Independence Division. We did some surveillance off of Gold Rush Road. During that surveillance, we were able to stop 2 cars. We were able to get 2 firearms and get those people interviewed by the detectives. In both cases, the Crime Gun Suppression Team safely took violent offenders off the street. And we were able to get illegal firearms off the street. This is the kind of work that's going on every single day. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to the Major.
Okay. Thanks, Sergeant. Appreciate that. I'll be honest with you, there are more stories that he could tell you right now about the work that's done. I wish that we had an opportunity to show you and let you look at some of the things that we see internally when we see these investigations go on, the danger to our officers when they're out there in foot chases and vehicle pursuits. We at CMPD continue to learn. We continue to build our experience. When Dan talked about our helicopter and our canine operations, that grouping, that teamwork of units when they get together is extremely successful. Our aviation unit helps us to minimize danger to our officers and to the general public. We know that if we're in a pursuit with somebody and we can back off, that person no longer feels like police are immediately behind them. That helicopter is engaged, follows them to their final destination, and guess what? Surprise, CMPD jumps out on you, and the next thing you know, you're in custody. These folks communicate very, very well. They are a global team operating on top of all of our individual organizations, all of our divisions within CMPD, but their ability to communicate with and interact with those divisions is very important. It's all about resource pooling. So when we talk about this, we have these teams that work in a more strategic sense. They help us in our divisions, they help me in my divisions when I'm working to make sure that we're going after the people, because we're people-centric. We want to make sure, talked about that earlier with the district attorney's office, it's about people. And so we know that the folks that are most often engaged in violent crimes are generally ones that will get back out, and what happens when they get back out? They reoffend. They go right back to doing what they're used to doing, what they know. So again, we've been asked about guns. I talked about guns being stolen from cars. It takes a person to pull a trigger on a firearm. So I just want to reiterate this. The person's making a conscious decision to pull the trigger on that gun. And we're asking you, think before you do that. Please. The impact to you, the impact to somebody else's life, tremendous. It's tremendous. Our officers are impacted by that every day. Chief Jennings has been very, very concerned about officer wellness. He wants to make sure that our officers get appropriate mental health care, because I tell you what, folks, it impacts you. I've been doing this almost 30 years, and it still impacts me to this day when I see these things, and I see these kids out on the street that are shot and critically injured or killed. It's very hard to deal with. So we appreciate what Chief Jennings has done. Our officers appreciate what's happening in terms of our officer wellness piece. I will talk about a couple more pieces of crime information for you before we roll to questions. Vehicle thefts, auto crimes. So auto crimes, we've seen an increase in this generally across most of Mecklenburg County. Question you have is, why is this occurring? Usually we see an increase in auto crimes in the winter because people's cars are getting stolen. It's cold weather, they're going to work, they start the car, they leave the car warming, people jump in it, kids jump in it, they take those cars for joyrides. It's less about that now. What we're seeing more frequently is thefts from convenience stores or people being lazy, going somewhere and leaving the car running. How many of y'all have been to a dry cleaner? You've been to a convenience store, you see somebody hop out, leave the car at the pump, leave the car in front of the store with the keys, key fob in the car, car's running, somebody jumps in and off they go. Don't leave your key fobs in your cars, please. Just like guns. Consider it just like a firearm or your driver's license or your checkbook or your debit card, whatever. There's no reason to leave any valuable stuff in your car except for the fact that you just don't want to carry it in the house. And if you don't want to be a victim of crime, take it indoors. Lock your car doors, please. These are simple things. I've been standing up here in front of these cameras for 10 years saying the same stuff over and over and over again. And I just don't understand why folks don't get the message, okay? It's really simple. If you don't want to be a victim of crime, take a couple of extra steps. Take your stuff indoors, secure the valuables, secure your car keys. Don't leave the car running, please. Please don't do that. We put our people in a lot of danger trying to get your car back. So when we got somebody in a stolen car, and I bet you more often than not they've got a gun with them, it puts us in a lot of danger, puts the general public in danger. And I know people don't want that. I know that's not what they want. But you do have to be considerate and thoughtful about those things that you do because it has an impact on others. 733 vehicle theft incidents in 2022. That's up 11% from last year. We see this happen in apartment complexes. We see it happen in convenience stores, just as I talked about. Generally thefts of opportunity. According to U.S. Department of Transportation, about 3/4 of a million vehicles are stolen every year in the U.S. Believe it or not, key fob doesn't have to even be in the car if it's running for somebody to get in it and drive it away. And it'll continue to run until they park it and turn it off. Sad fact, but it's true. Technology also is hurting us. So again, half thefts, half of them are due to these driver errors. People, car owners, whoever's operating those cars, please, please do these things we talked about. Help us out. Those prevention methods are really critical for us. We'll end with an update on a program that Chief Jennings is one of his top priorities, the new industry standard for law enforcement and interactions with the community. CMPD launched CMPD Serves last year, adding customer service training as part of the department's standard training. When we talk about customer service training, a lot of people generally will think about, well, I'm going to a store and I'm buying something and it's the person on the other side of the counter who's trying to help me with that transaction. For us, customer service means the interaction that you have with a police officer, whether you're a victim of crime, whether you're somebody that's in your community, you have concerns about something that's going on, a quality of life issue, a crime issue, and it's the way that we interact with you. It's the way that we communicate. It's important for us to remember that our job is not just to be out here chasing people that are bad and don't want to talk to us, but it's also to interact with citizens who care about their communities, care about each other, hopefully care about CMPD and our officers. Officers and civilian employees have the tools to make positive impressions on every member of the public that they interact with. And our goal again is that if you meet me and you only meet me once, that at the end of that interaction, we've had a positive engagement. And that's not something where you're walking away and saying, man, Major Foley, he didn't listen to me. I didn't get any resolution to the problem I had. And even if he didn't know, he didn't help me to find out or go someplace that I needed to go to help get information. So really it's about us taking care of those little things and making sure that when we're interacting with crime victims, with the public, with our partners, community partners, government partners, that those engagements are positive outcome engagements. 2,600 employees at CMPD have taken this training, all of us. And to that end, it will continue to be taught to every new recruit and employee who enters the department. Phase 2 of CMPD Serves is in development and will roll out in September of this year, having more of a focus to the application of the work, the department's internal culture, and employee wellness. So folks, that concludes the scripted portion of our briefing today. I'll open the floor to questions.
You talked at length about young crime victims. Do you have any idea of the average age of gun victims in Charlotte? Is that something you guys track?
We can provide that to you, an average age. It doesn't matter to me the age. If you're a youth, if you're a kid, I've got kids. And when I go to a crime scene and a kid's been shot whether they were a direct target or whether they were an incidental target because somebody was shooting at someone else and decided they would just shoot indiscriminately. I get ill. I get sick, physically sick to my stomach. It makes me ill. Kids should not have to go through life worrying. Parents should not have to go through life worrying about whether or not my kid's outdoors or not if they're going to get shot. It shouldn't happen anywhere in the United States, much less here in Charlotte.
Do you have any update on Cherish, the 10-year-old who was shot at the auto spa about a month ago?
My understanding is that she is still in critical condition. That case is one that we're working very hard, and we would love for the public, anybody in the public who has any information about that case to come forward. This was a shooting that happened at a car wash on Sunset Road in North Division. Very, very unfortunate case. Again, if I look back in the last 12 months, I could count on more than two hands the number of times I've been to scenes where we've had kids who have been in the line of fire, not on purpose, and who have been hit. And again, it's about people understanding if I don't like someone else and I want to have a physical conflict with you, first step is no guns. But second, think about where you are. Think about who's around you. Police officers are trained. We know that if we use deadly force, we have to be cognizant of what's behind us. We call that the backdrop. We know that as soon as the bullet leaves a firearm, it's going to go somewhere. And sometimes that's a choice where we say we're not going to shoot, even if we're presented with a deadly threat, because we know that there's a possibility that somebody could get hurt by that. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any update on the officer-involved shooting this morning on the Annabelle?
The SBI is currently conducting an investigation. It's an ongoing investigation. I can't provide you with any additional details on that case right now. CMPD is conducting a concurrent criminal investigation involving any of the suspects, potential suspects in that case. So further information will be coming through public information and then from the SBI. Yes, ma'am.
You talk about the focus on kids. We've done stories about these groups of bicyclists that disrupt traffic, agitate drivers, and have even, committed some acts against people's cars with vandalism. Is CMPD aware that these groups of kid bicyclists are going around town doing this? Are they doing anything to try to curb that activity?
So the question is about groups of juvenile youth and sometimes teen and sometimes adult people riding bicycles through certain portions of Charlotte, especially visible downtown, especially visible on the weekends. Yes, we are aware of that. We know that that's a problem. We have made some arrests in some instances with those individuals. There's always a public safety aspect to that. So when we have a group of 25 or 50 kids riding bicycles through very interactive areas, lots of pedestrian traffic, lots of vehicle traffic. As officers, we have to be measured on how we address that, okay? We have to recognize that there's a public safety issue, not only to the bikers themselves, but the other people around them. So it's not as simple as just going out there and grabbing people off of bikes or, being able to stop them at a certain location. It's complex. It's hard to say because you would think, it's a bunch of kids on bicycles, you should just be able to go out there and grab them. But those folks will not stop for police. They're not interested in talking to us. They know what they're doing is wrong, but it's fun to them. That's what it is. It's a joyride through the city. And unfortunately, parents are responsible. Folks, talk about this over and over and over again. Where are your kids? What are they doing? If you don't know, you should know. If you're a responsible, good parent, that's what it's all about. Putting them out of the house so you can get a nap? Sorry. So we got to have some help from the public. We got to have some response from the public. Again, it's communicating with us. You want your kids to be safe. If your kid is out there riding a bicycle and he gets hit by a car, the first thing that families do is blame the motorist. They never look at what the person was doing prior to when that incident happened. They always blame the motorist, then they blame the police. What were you doing to stop this from occurring? So again, it's a very complex question, but I appreciate you bringing that up. What else we have from the panel? Anybody else?
Do you have any statistics on how many juveniles under 18 have been involved in shootings in 2022?
We'll be able to provide you, we can do some background information on that. Generally, what I have seen, at least with the responsibilities that I have for our North Patrol Division, is that our shootings that we have that are not domestic related generally involve people under the age of 25. Okay, we'll use that as a benchmark age. The concerning piece is the incident, the number of times that our officers are encountering kids, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, who are in possession of guns. I had a robbery that occurred in a school that was closed last week in an athletic field. Had juveniles involved in that case. There's a firearm involved. 2 kids got shot in a struggle over a firearm. Again, the question is, why do young people have these guns? How do they get them? Where are they getting them from? Why aren't parents doing something? Why aren't they noticing it? Why aren't they checking kids' bedrooms or looking in backpacks before they go to school? There's a responsibility there. I do that for my children because that's the way that I was raised by my parents. And if people want to talk about responsibilities, having children is a responsibility. And it's not just about diapers and it's not just about school books. It's about making sure that you're teaching your kids the good life lessons and that you're helping them not make bad decisions. And when it comes to firearms, that's the worst possible decision you can make. Any other questions from the group?
Is leaving a running car a violation of the ticket offense?
So the question is leaving your car running and unattended a ticketable offense? And the answer is yes. That is a city ordinance violation. Generally, we don't cite unless it's a pretty egregious offense or if we've run into you before and it's your second offense. Really, it's an educational component. We get up here in front of the cameras many, many times a year telling people don't leave your cars running. And the message doesn't get through. So, hopefully you all, folks with the highest ratings in here in the market, help us out. Get that message out, please, because that's very important for us.
Anything else? The Major? Okay, we'll be following up with the press release, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Will that